I want to thank you. Thank you, James, for inviting me to take part in this panel and share my views. I certainly want to thank the audience members for getting up after that great party last night. Basically, the question put to us as panelists is, can companies be both responsible and sustainable? The answer to that is yes. It's yes before my 10-minute talk. It'll be absolutely yes after my 10-minute talk. But essentially, some companies in recent history that were not responsible and certainly were not sustainable. Companies like Enron, Tyco, WorldCom, Adelphi sent shockwaves through the investor community in the United States and elsewhere. Drove stocks down tremendously in the U.S. market. There was a lack of confidence, and when there's a lack of confidence, there's a lack of liquidity. And markets, and especially free markets, always respond to confidence levels. GCAL, the United States government reacted very quickly, very harshly, some say too harshly. If you watch CNBC this morning, as I just clicked it on as a sort of filler, they're talking about Sarbanes-Oxley. Sarbanes-Oxley, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a U.S. law that is like ISO on crack cocaine. It is probably there's some very tough provisions in it, but suffice to say that publicly traded companies in the U.S. have to undergo very strict oversight, complete transparency, or somebody goes to jail. Last year, and over the past year, the World Diamond Council has reported that 47% of consumers, 43% of consumers mistrust jewelers. That's almost half of our audience, almost half of our consumers. Also, last year, DTC Worldwide Marketing Director David Lamb reported that consumers believe that 47% of jewelers deceive their customers. I mean, this is truly a lack of confidence, and if we didn't have such a population boom, we might be feeling even greater effects of that than just the fact that the diamond industry is lagging behind, the jewelry sector is lagging behind in the luxury market. What does it mean to be responsible? Well, conducting business with the interest of the consumers in mind is a good start. We have diamond best practices. We have all types of rules and regulations and codes of ethics in various companies, but keeping the eye on the consumer, obviously, is a good long-term strategy. In 1981, we had such a lack of confidence after the so-called, I see that there are a few out here that are as old as I am, or almost, that might remember the rise and fall of the diamond investment period. And so we we discovered some problems. We discovered that the major laboratories were not consistent. We discovered that there were some serious problems. So a now-defunct magazine took the very brave effort of trying to put a test of the laboratories together. And suffice to say that the laboratories did not come out with a sterling reputation or a sterling result. This report ended up in Barron's Financial, and on September 7th, 1981, I was quoted as saying, "It may cause some pain now, but in the long run, if it's good for consumers, it's good for business." I believed that 25 years ago. I still believe it today, and I've lived by those rules in my own business practices during this period. Is Cecilia here? Do we all know the difference between, there she is. Do we all know the difference between a report and a certificate? Well, Cecilia, it's my 10 minutes. I get to talk about the difference between a report and a certificate. A report, a diamond grading report, and we're all accustomed to them. As a matter of fact, I think everything out there that accompanies a diamond in the way of a grading report is in fact a grading report, with one exception that I certainly am going to inform you about. They usually have a page of disclaimers on the back in a 20% screen type that usually say something like, "Our lab shall not be responsible, or be held liable for any loss, damage, or expense for any error or omission from the use of this report." Now, words to that effect are on just about every diamond grading report. In 1981, after the test and after we found out what the results were, I did produce a fully guaranteed diamond grading report. As a matter of fact, I made sure I had all the insurances in place with Jewish Mutual, Northbrook Excess Lines, and I had $1 million coverage on any occurrence, or each occurrence, if I overgraded the diamond. Well, of course, the market was going into the toilet, and so there wasn't much of a market there to develop that certificate. But in 1999, at the request of Fred Moad, who was launching Mondera.com, a fledgling internet, which is still around, he asked that I come to New York, that I put a lab together, an independent lab, my own lab, but that I check everything that was going out the door to the consumer and everything that was coming back in. We came up with the GAA GEM audit, appraisal with realistic valuations, and we did verify the authenticity of the grading reports that went out.